Welcome to this video, and in this video I am going to discuss the exception handling in Java. uh, in this video we are going to discuss the actual theory part, logic behind the exceptional handling, and in the next video we will cover the coding part. Okay, so in this video we are saying about exception handling. What is exception? What is one may ask me, what is exception? So exception is anything, means you need something exceptional happens to your code. Suppose you write a code in Java and some exceptional things happen in your Java. Suppose like there can be number of scenario like divide by 0 can be one scenario. Another scenario can be that array out of bound. Okay, means what is array out of bound? Means by mistakenly, if you have an array of size n and you are mistakenly you are try to access the n plus 1, then it will throw an exception. Third thing is that we have to encounter is that maybe you can null pointer exception and so much null pointer exception or input. If you by mistakenly user input the wrong data type of input, so that can be exception as well. So there is a lot of possibility of exception handle happens in the Java. Okay, so how to do this means how to actually what I'm saying is let's move to the and understand the what exception is in the Java. Actually, there is a hierarchy, exception hierarchy, that you will start from the object class, and there is a throwable class which inherit object class. Okay, and this throwable class has two class which is inheriting throwable class. First class is error class and second is exception, and we are generally focusing on exception class. Okay, so exception classes have lot of subclasses like SQL exception. Okay, there is another exception can be with us is like array means runtime exception. Okay, and runtime exception can be array out of bound, null pointer exception, and a lot of thing exception can occur there. Okay, so this is the hierarchy which we generally use a lot. Okay, so let's discuss what is exception. So in Java, exception is divided into the two types majorly. If this is exception, so it is described in two kind of exception. First is checked and other is unchecked. Okay, so you can ask me what's the checked and unchecked. So checked and unchecked with reference to compiler. Okay, compiler, if you have a code, suppose if you have if you written a code in Java, something like a code, and if this code have some exception occurs which is of a checked kind. Suppose checked kind is IO exception. Okay, suppose class not found exception. So if this exception occurs, then we can say that compiler is going to check this exception and throws an error. Okay, with regarding that. Unchecked exception are generally a runtime exception, and it is generally not checked by the compiler. You can, if suppose there are lot of this type, like you have come across the runtime exception. Yeah, you know that. So there is array out of bound, null pointer exception, and there are a lot of exceptions like that. So those exception is actually occur at runtime. Okay, these are not checked by the compiler. Okay, so you can say that there are two major kind of exception. Okay, so how do we actually check the exception in Java? What is the syntax to handle the exception in Java? So we have some of the, like, try, catch, and finally they are the some of the keywords we have to keep in mind all the time. Okay, if we are handling the exception. So the syntax is something like you write try, okay, follow by curly brace, and you write the code here, which is lines of code, which is risky code, which is going to get some exception. And then after you write the catch block. Okay, and catch block generally capture the exception here. Okay, so it will capture the exception class. Okay, suppose it's capturing the exception E. Okay, and in this body you can print the some value if exception occurs. Okay, some lines or some statement if exception occur here. And there is some another block we have written, that's a finally block, and it is a block which in which you can write anything to print it anytime. What I'm trying to say is that after writing the try and then catch, okay, so catch will not run every time. Okay, it will not run every time. Why? Because that if exception occurs, if suppose there is a divide by 0 occurs, okay, then catch will run. If there is if it does not occur, then catch will not run. But finally will run in every situation, whether the divide by 0 occur or not, it will be there. Okay, so this is the way we generally handle the code in Java. So general, if I say about a general syntax, then I will write something like try first, then the body which contains some code here. Okay, after the try we can have unlimited number of catch. Okay, there are so you can have any number of catch. Okay, and after the catch you can write finally, which is finally block, which is completely optional. Okay, you are free to ignore it, but for the good practice we generally keep the finally block with us. But with the tribes, if someone writes something like try and you don't write anything after that, then it is wrong. It is going to be wrong, because you have to include either catch here or finally here, either of them or both of them. Okay, to make it successful, because this is try, and if there is risky code, so there can be exception, there can be yes true for exception, or false means there is no exception. So if there is no exception, then finally block will run. If there is exception, then catch block will run, and catch block and finally block both will run. So in this manner we generally handle the most basic exception handler in Java for us. So we will talk about code and dive deep into the exceptional handling in the next video. Thanks for watching.